All right, so as we wait for more people to show up, on and on and on and on. Hello, how's your day going? Second person. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Uh, Hi. Hello. Yeah, we're just waiting for some more people to come. Obero. Oh, hey, Obero. Hmm. Yeah, we're just waiting for more people to come in before I get started. We had 3 people in here now, so that's good to see. Um, yeah. So how was your weekend, guys? Hopefully, all went well. Oh, now we're up to 4 people. That's good. Hopefully. Guys, as always, I do appreciate any and all likes and shares to help get the word out. Guys, help me out with that. That'd be appreciated. Like I said, we're just waiting to let a few more people come in before we get started. Um, hopefully, as I said earlier, if you guys, hopefully you had a good weekend, and like a couple people left. Hmm. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. Find adventure that's beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. They are the gummy bears. Hmm. Yeah, I know it's a little boring. I mean, I do have the stories ready. It's just that I'm just waiting on some more people to show up. Oh, and like I'm back to being the only one in here right now. Hmm. I know that there were a few people live streaming earlier. I know like Crow usually streams around this time, but I know like Ethan is streaming right now as well, or he was. I don't know if he still is, but Neurotic was streaming earlier. So I know some of the guys might be over on those sites. We're coming up on the 5 minute mark. I'm the only one here thus far. It seems. Now we're at the 6-minute mark. Let's see. Well, what did I do this weekend? Well, I played some Pokemon on Saturday, and then Sunday, prepared the live streams for the coming week here. Um, um, all right, let's see. Well, we got 2 people in here. Okay, hello. Guess it might be the same. I don't know if that is that still Obero in there or if it's somebody else? Yeah. All right. Well, we're just all right. Well, we're at the 8-minute mark now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Hopefully, people will show up soon. So, what's on tap for tonight? Well, we got 6 stories, all from Bounding into Comics. Um, we have let's see, we got 5 of them comics related, and then one that's television related. Anime. Netflix got a couple trailers. The Arc Tunes review, and let's see, and then I guess the director for the Sandman Netflix adaptation is saying it's gonna supposedly be the truest adaptation out there. Well, wait and see. Also, apparently, um, the new Spawn movie, I guess that might be coming out in connection to the latest set of comics, might be embracing Hollywood wokeness. That might be a thing, but anyways, with that, and then of course we'll be leading off with apparently a lawsuit's coming. The estate of Steve Ditko is seeking to terminate the copyrights from Marvel, um, on Spider-Man, and they're suing to terminate the copyright for Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, and then Marvel, of course, is countersuing. So, I'm not sure if he is or not there, DJ. I haven't heard anything him in a while. Yeah, there was. All right, let's see. Okay. Right. He's got. I'd say Ocean Studios is Ocean Productions is a little underrated. I kind of would like to see it be more active. Yeah, sure do. Hmm. All right. So, anyways, let's get in. Let's get into the articles then. Um, get into these. Right. So the first article of the night will be this one. Steve Ditko estate files to terminate Marvel copyrights over Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Article by Spencer Bacouli published this past Friday. A recent legal move by the estate of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange co-creator Steve Ditko could result in Marvel losing their respective copyrights over both the Web Slinger and the Sorcerer Supreme. There's a source for this panel: The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 41, 2002, Marvel Comics, words by J. Michael Straczynski, and art by John Romita Jr. and Scott Hanna. According to two respective notices of termination filed with the United States Copyright Office on August 26th and brought to widespread attention by Marvel artist J.L. Mast from the Avengers and Millennium Infinite comic, Thanos, a god of up there listening Infinite Comics, Patrick S. Ditko, the brother of Ditko and the current administrator of the late artist's estate, is seeking to revoke Marvel's copyright over both the Amazing Fantasy Volume 1, Number 15 story Spider-Man, in which the eponymous wall crawler makes his first appearance. There's from the panel. Stan Lee wrote the story, and Steve Ditko did the art. And the Strange Tales Volume 1, number 110 debut of Doctor Strange in the appropriately titled Doctor Strange Master of Black Magic. If successful, Patrick Ditko's termination of Marvel's copyrights would not necessarily require the publisher to stop publishing comics featuring the characters, as they would still remain the trademarks over them, but could see them barred from using any of the elements featured in the two stories. Thus, items such as Spider-Man's web shooters or the amulet of Agamotto, characters including Aunt May, Uncle Ben, Wong, and the Ancient One, and even both heroes' costumes could not be used by Marvel in any comic, film, or other media. So basically, if yeah, I mean that's one way to kind of nick something. Just take it out by its roots. What it sounds like he's doing here. The question, of course, is why. The logistics of copyright termination law are, to say the least, complicated. As noted by Robinson, Bradshaw, and Hinson via Bleeding Cool's Rich Johnston, attorneys John M. Conley and Nichelle N. Levy, in an article written in regard to the historical legal battle between the Siegel estate and DC Comics regarding copyright to Superman. Quote, the basic rule for works created and assigned prior to 1978 is that termination can be effective anytime within a 5-year window that opens and that opens exactly 56 years from the date copyright was originally secured. Unquote. The pair explained, quote, so if, as in Siegel, a copyright was secured on April 18th, 1938, the 5-year termination window opened on April 18th, 1994. But even if that window is missed, if the work was in its renewal term in 1998, a second 5-year window opened 75 years after the date of copyright. Unquote. Let's see. So, yeah. All right. So, quote, Schuster's heirs are seeking to take advantage of this provision, having given notice of their intent to terminate in 2013, 1938 plus 75 years, unquote. They continued, quote, if a work is first created or signed after 1978, the termination can generally be effective anytime during a 5-year window, beginning 35 years after the execution of the grant, unquote. It sounded like pretty taking these legal provisions into account, the window to terminate the copyright over Spider-Man's initial publication in 1962 would open in 2018 and end in 2023, while Doctor Strange's 1963 introduction would make his copyright eligible for termination between 2019 and 2024. In Spider-Man Volume 1, number 555, sometimes it snows in April 2008. Marvel Comics. Words by Zeb Wells. Art by Chris Pachalo. And but again, you have to kind of wonder though why they're trying to get the copyright terminated. The U.S. Copyright Office further adds that termination provisions, quote, are intended to protect authors and their heirs against unremunerative agreements by giving them an opportunity to share in the later economic success of their works. By allowing authors or their heirs during a particular periods of time long after the original grant to regain the previously granted copyright or copyright rights, unquote. Like the Siegel case, it's possible that such an outcome for Patrick Ditko would subsequently result in comics featuring either Spider-Man or Doctor Strange bearing a disclaimer similar to the, quote, by special arrangement with the family of Jerry Siegel, unquote, found on stories featuring the Man of Steel. What do you make of Marvel potentially losing the copyrights to both Spider-Man and Doctor Strange? Let us know your thoughts on social media. I'm gonna refrain commenting until we read the next article, because the next article is actually kind of the response is Marvel's response to this issue. So, okay. So, anyways, I'm still the only one here, but. All right. Marvel strikes back. Countersues to keep rights to multiple characters, including Avengers and Spider-Man. Article by Spencer McCooley, published this past Saturday. This basically, I believe, this is kind of the counter to, in part, to the Ditko legal move. So let's see what happens here. Just one day after the public was made aware of efforts by the estate of Steve Ditko to terminate their copyright claims to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, Marvel has countersued both the Ditko estate and a number of creators who have filed similar lawsuits in an attempt by the publisher to retain their exclusive rights to an extensive number of their iconic characters, including the aforementioned two heroes and multiple Avengers members. So apparently, the Ditko estate is not the only entity that's actually suing Marvel to terminate copyright. There's others doing it too. That's going to be interesting. As first reported, the Hollywood Reporter, who claimed to have viewed, quote, but not, or in parentheses, but not made public, but did not make public, parentheses, the freshly filed complaints made by attorney Dan Petrocelli on Marvel's behalf, the once renowned member of the comic book, quote, Big Two, unquote, or smaller quote, unsmaller quote, Big Two, is seeking, in quotes, declaratory relief that these blockbuster characters are ineligible for copyright termination as works made for hire, unquote, a legal designation whose provisions would render the publisher as the sole owner of the characters. Now, what they basically said is, I guess the way the copyright law is supposed to work here, the reason that the original creators have a option to try to terminate contract is to basically get into a point to where, you know, the publisher can't squeeze them out of any possible remuneration or money, basically. In their legal filing against Iron Man, Thor, and Ant-Man co-creator Larry Lieber, the only one provided by the Hollywood Reporter, Marvel can be seen arguing that since they, quote, assigned Lieber stories to write, had the right to exercise creative control over Lieber's contributions and paid Lieber a per-page rate for his contributions, unquote. Any contribution made under their instance and expense renders all respective contributions by a given creator as work made for hire, thus rendering copyright termination laws inapplicable. Tales the Return of Ant-Man. Tales to Astonish, Volume 1, The Return of Ant-Man. A publisher further asserts that these cases bear more than a passing similarity to a previous attempt made by the estate of legendary creator Jack Kirby to terminate Marvel's copyrights over his various co-creations, including the Fantastic Four, the Hulk, Spider-Man, Thor, and the X-Men, which in 2013 the Second Circuit Court of Appeals determined held no water since Kirby had created the characters as a work made for hire. According to the United States Copyright Act of 1976, in smaller quote, work made for hire, unsmaller quote, is defined as, quote, a work prepared by an employee within the scope of his or her employment, unquote, or, quote, a work specifically ordered or commissioned for use as a contribution to a collective work as part of a motion picture, or other audiovisual work as a translation, as a supplementary work, as compilation, as an instructional text, as a test, as answer material for a test, or as an atlas. If the parties expressly agree in a written instrument signed by them that the work shall be considered work made for hire, unquote. Well, first off, does Marvel have such a contract with these creators? Do they actually have a copy of those contracts still in their files? For one, um, that I think would be one of the bigger issues right there. Is they actually have that? Um, but then was it classified as a work for hire? Tells further, the U.S. Copyright Office. Well, the big question is, why are they seeking to terminate the copyrights? Is it because Marvel? Is it because Marvel isn't paying their families what they're owed? You have to kind of wonder why are they suing to terminate the. Um, okay. Further, the U.S. Copyright Office adds that termination provisions, quote, are intended to protect authors and their heirs against unremunerative agreements by giving them an opportunity to share in the later economic success of their works by allowing authors uh, or their heirs during particular periods of time long after the original grant to regain the previously granted copyright or copyright rights, unquote. Yeah. My guess, it almost sounds like Marvel might be shortchanging, you know, the families, Steve Ditko and some of the other creators and now their families are seeking to regain those rights. So that's what I'm. The creators who previously filed copyright termination notices and now find themselves in the sights of Marvel's legal teams, as well as their respective creations, include Lawrence D. Luber, co-creator of Iron Man, Thor, and Ant-Man; Patrick S. Ditko, the brother of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange; co-creator Steve Ditko, and the current manager of the estate; um, Michelle Hart Rico and Buzz Donato Rico III, the family of Black Widow co-creator Don Rico; Nancy Solo and Eric Kolan, the family of Falcon co-creator Gene Colan; and Keith A. Detweiler, the current executive of the estate of Don Heck, who co-created Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Wonder Man. House of M, Volume 1, Number 1, art by Olivier Coipel. If unsuccessful in their efforts to define the contributions of the above creators as, in smaller quotes, works for hire, Marvel would inevitably be forced to share some of the profits derived from said characters with their respective creators if they wish to continue using most of their, quote, first string, lineup of heroes. Hmm. I Yeah, that would be something, because how would Marvel continue then if they either had to pay out to continue to use them or um or lose the characters altogether? How would Marvel survive? However, a legal victory for Marvel would both set a worrying precedent for copyright termination law, but also provide Disney with further ammunition to use in the continuing fight against the advancement of their characters into public domain. Hmm. In other words, once a character becomes public domain, then anybody can use it, basically. Or what do you make of Marvel's counter? Yeah, I think this whole story, basically, it's the publishers versus the creators. Basically, the publishers are getting greedy. They don't want to pay the creators. The creators want their fair share. Or well, I think in this case, the creators' families want their fair share on the material that they're at their family members. Hey, RJ, Avengers made enough money for the heirs to finally realize how screwed they'd been. Yeah, yeah, I would say that. I mean, this sounds like it's gonna get nasty real fast, RJ. And as always, I don't know if you haven't already, but if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more people in here, that'd be appreciated. But yeah, I mean, and I had read the previous article too here, RJ. That and they even mentioned it in here that a number of creators are filing suit at this time. But you think about it, it's a publisher versus creator issue. It's like the publishers are trying to retain their rights to where they don't have to pay out, while while I'm trying to think here. While the creators are trying to get their fair share. You know, this could be a very big legal case because it's publisher versus creator. It's corporation versus employee. You know, it's you know it has such large ramifications. Has such large ramifications that that do have to kind of wonder. Yeah, I mean that's basically the issue right there. It's I'll highlight that comment you just made there. Yeah, I think I did before. Yeah. So, anyways, All right. So, anyways, I guess it's time to move on to the next article then. Where are we at on time? Let's see. 37 minutes. Good time. Yeah, I do kind of wonder where everybody is tonight. Leto's not here. Leto Woody would be here by now, and so usually Batgo would be getting in about now. But anyways, right. So moving on to the next article here. Executive producer David Goyer thinks Netflix's live-action Sandman will be a very quote a very truthful adaptation unquote. Article by J.B. Augustine published yesterday. So let's get into this. Neil Gaiman's Sandman comics are notorious for being considered so out there that they would be unfilmable. But the series is hardly alone in that conversation. The same thing was said about such works as The Watchmen, World War Z, and even William S. Burroughs' book Naked Lunch, which was adapted into a film starring Peter Weller by David Cronenberg. David Goyer, the executive producer on the series' upcoming Netflix adaptation, has heard that charge. While he concedes in an extended interview with Collider, um, or with Collider, that adapting some issues for the screen has proven difficult, he maintains that the show will be faithful to the comics, but adds that audiences can expect some level of genre bending. Hmm. I say if you're gonna adapt something, you gotta adapt it as it is, not put your own spin on it. All right. So, anyways, as we continue on with the story here, quote: I think it's a very truthful adaptation, and some of the individual issues that we adapted, that we perhaps the trickiest standalone issues in Gaiman's run, have ended up being the most interesting and genre bending episodes, unquote. Goyer said, quote, and I'm really proud of those, unquote. He didn't get into spoilers or mention which episodes he was referring to, but Goyer did reflect on how long it took to bring Sandman to screens, along with another series he's working on for Apple TV Plus, um, based around Isaac Asimov's equally dense Foundation novels. Why streaming series were a perfect fit for both worlds. It's very strange to me that after literally decades of me dreaming about working on Foundation or Sandman, that both would come my way at almost exactly the same time. After decades of various attempts failing, it's funny how that worked out, he said. But I do think in the case of Foundation or Sandman, a streaming show was perfect. Really, um, the only way that the magic of what Asimov and Gaiman had done could be fully realized. Development on Sandman and the Foundation movies has respectively been start and stop for decades, similar to how Watchmen was bounced around before it was finally made into a movie by Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers. Goyer had the chance to adapt the latter about a decade ago, but things fell apart, quote, 10 or 15 years ago, unquote, and then, quote, then I thought it was impossible to adapt as a feature or even a series of features, unquote, he recalled. Sandman's first look from Netflix. Finally realized Goyer's take on Asimov's History of Man and a Collapsed Galactic Empire debuted Friday, September 24th on Apple TV. So this past Friday. Sandman's premiere date is to isn't yet known, but it has been confirmed that Netflix is adapting Preludes and Nocturnes, as well as a controversial 24 hours history across 11 episodes. Do you have hope for the faithfulness of Netflix to Sandman and Neil Gaiman's source material? What do you expect out of the series? Genre bending. Let us know your thought. No, I don't expect Netflix to be true to the original. I think that has generally been the general consensus that they're not generally true to the original on any material. Ah, Leto, you're here. Thank you. ah. Sorry, Mike, my friend. My wife got in a bad accident. Um, she totaled her car right now, and so gonna tend to her. Just passing by to give. Yeah, well, thank you, Leto, and I hope everything is okay with your wife. I hope she's okay. Thank you for dropping in. I was wondering why you weren't here. You're usually here on time on Mondays, so. But I hope she is okay, and you take care of her. Okay, I thank you for dropping in, anyways. Um, ouch. I hope she's okay. And insured. Best wishes. Hey, Woody, thanks for dropping in, man. As always, guys, I do appreciate any and all likes and shares. If you guys can help out with that, that'd be appreciated. Um, let's see. Yeah, she has a small Mitsubishi and got hit by a huge truck. Launched her car into a brick wall. It's stressful for her. We just got out of the emergency. Well, hopefully everything's okay, man. Hopefully everything's okay. You know. But tend to her. I understand you had to tend to her, right now. So, but thank you for dropping in. Do appreciate it. Wow. All right. So, anyways, let's get on to the next article here. ArcTunes Roundup, September 27, 2021. Article by the Dark Herald, published today. So, All right. Anyways, see what else is going on here. Yep, just some bruises, but her car is her baby. She says she says so. She's a bit upset, frustrated, and emotional. I'll leave the stream on. So, all right. Yeah, I understand, man. Hey, Dave. Howdy. As always, guys, I do appreciate any and all likes and shares. If you can help me out with that, that'd be appreciated as well. Yeah, we got 5 people watching right now, so that's cool. All right. Best of luck, Leto. Yep. All right. So, anyways, let's get on with this next article. Hiya, Dave. I'm Woody. Okay. Welcome to Bounding into Comics, weekly dive into some of the best in webtoons that Arcaven Comics publishes on Arctoons. This week, in honor of Arcaven's newest major talent, artist Joe Bennett, we will be focusing on Brazilian powerhouse Super Prumo's webtoons. Yeah. Yeah, as we had read last week, Joe Bennett signed on with Arctoons. Going to be working with Chuck Dixon there. Comic book culture is generally divided by region. Most people who are interested in comics know about Europe, Japan, and of course the US. Each region's comics culture is noted for its own stylistic preferences, traditions, and idiosyncrasies. Japanese manga is known for its dynamic movement and huge eyes, while American comics lean heavily towards superheroes. Europe's metal hurlant type comics are much more adult in nature. You get the idea. However, there are other comics cultures that get overlooked. One of the most vibrant belongs to Brazil. Arcaven artist Joe Bennett is hardly by himself as a Brazilian import. Ed Benes, Gabriel Ba, his twin brother Fabio Moon, and Mike Deodato are all from the land of Carnival. Okay, it's hardly an endless list, but it is rather outsized given these artists' impact in the field of comic book art. There's some work from Red Hornet, which is one of the titles that Joe Ben's going to be working on for Arcaven. The foundation of the Brazilian school, like its northern cousin, was based on a humble newspaper comic strip, defined in this case as sequential art used to convey a narrative. However, the Brazilians got their start a lot earlier, the first comic strips appearing in their paper in the 1860s. So basically, while we were at war with ourselves here in the States, Brazil was coming out with newspaper comic strips. So that's kind of interesting. First Brazilian comic strip anthology magazine, O Tico Tico, began publication in 1905, 28 years before Funnies on Parade hit the shelves. In 1933, Funnies on Parade. We took a look at that book way back when, at the very beginning of our historical comic retrospect. O Tico Tico would stay in print until 1970. Wow, 72 years. That's pretty good. Which sadly beats out the vast majority of Brazilian comics. Given the problems of distribution and severe competition from American and Japanese imports, Brazilian titles tend to have a short shelf life, and that is only from market pressure. Brazil's native comic books have faced persecution from the Catholic Church, the Communist Party, and the Brazilian government. Yet, through it all, their comic book artists' intensely vibrant passion for their craft has kept Brazil, um, Brazilian comics, coming back from the dead each time, much like the first Arctoon on our list. The Great Claw by Cunha and Martorelli. Here's a panel right here of it. The Great Claw started life as a horror comic strip in Sao Paulo's Gazeta newspaper back in 1938, same year the year we're into right now in the American, same year that Superman came out. This new revival by Super Prumo maintains the atmosphere of horror that the original run was famous for. One of the best defining traits of the genre is a severe power imbalance. The thing in the dark that is coming for you cannot be stopped by you. You can run, you can try to outwit it, you can delay it, but in the end, there is nothing you can do to prevent it from consuming you. Da 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 da. The thing is, there is a lot more variety to be found in the monsters that people are facing today, and few of them are fictional anymore. So, this comic book was created before COVID-19 entered our daily lives. A Hammer of Freedom by Luciano Cunha. In quote here, why is it that you white people developed so much cargo, but we black people had little cargo of our own? Unquote. That is a question that prompted Jared Diamond to begin a line of research that would culminate in his popular science book, Guns, Germs, and Steel: The Fate of Human Societies. The thumbnail version of this book can be boiled down to, quote, features of the Eurasian continent in particular, its high diversity of wild plant and animal species suitable for domestication, and its east-west major axis that favored the spread of those domesticates, people, technologies, and diseases for long distances with little change in latitude. It was a true enough answer for 1492, and given that Diamond is a professor at UCLA, he felt comfortable in exploring the question no further at all. And before I continue here, I gotta step away from the computer for a moment. I'll be right back. I think my phone had rang during my reading there. Just got to check it. I'll be right back. Just a couple of quick notifications I got. That's all that. Um, all right. And anyways, you guys are talking to each other there. Okay, so let's continue on with the story. Then I do thank you guys for all the likes and shares. That does help with the algorithm. Um, but the explanation goes only so far in the modern world. Take a look at Korea. At the close of the 19th century, the Korean army was still armed with matchlock muzzle loaders. The natural resources were scarce, and there were no railroads or electricity. Now, the South is a prosperous modern nation that supplies a good chunk of the world's components, but North Korea is famously as impoverished, backwater rife with malnutrition. Well, could that be because they're a communist country? uh, the truth is that communism can't make people equally rich, just equally poor, which is true, except, of course, for those to whom equity never applies. The reason for North Korea's suffering isn't supposed to be mentioned. They get called out on it every time. Brazil has long had problems you were never supposed to talk about, let alone draw pictures of them for all the world to see. The Awakener by Luciano Cunha. This is Cunha's best known work in Brazil. It started as a webtoon and took off like a rocket. The anger and frustration the protagonist feels, as well as his desperate love for his beautiful land, are what attracted a large swath of Cunha's countrymen. It's not hard to understand where they are coming from. Awakener. Ooh. There's some panels from the Awakener here. While doing research on this article, I discovered that The Awakener is not only Super Prumo's best known comic in Brazil, but that it has been made into a movie and TV series. I had no idea. Watch the trailer for O Doutrinador below. That's it for this week's ArcTunes Roundup. If you would like to see your comic book on ArcTunes, please send your submission to submissions at archaven.com. ArcTunes' motto is that great stories belong to the world. If you would like to support the website, please consider buying a subscription while Archaven titles on ArcTunes will remain free to all forever. Independent creators will soon have the option of being directly supported by their patrons. See you next week. That was up that one. And our next article here, let's see. Right, let's see now. Yeah. Anyways. Okay, so now we're going to get moving on to the next article here, guys. And I know this is also an article that I believe Y'all Flash covered as well today in one of his videos. Saw it this morning. Todd McFarlane's Spawn film embraces Hollywood wokeness. Article by John F. Trent, published earlier today. Spawn creator Todd McFarlane admitted the upcoming movie will embrace Hollywood wokeness. Relevant today in terms of social content. Oh boy. McFarlane spoke to CBR about the upcoming film where he made it crystal clear. Now, of course, I know Flash covered the CBR articles. You know, we're covering the Founding in the Comic articles here. About the upcoming film where he made it crystal clear that the film is embracing Hollywood's race politics. Oh, goody. CBR asked the creator, quote, last month it was announced Brian Tucker is going to take a crack at the movie script. What about his vision for the project impressed you to bring him on board, unquote. McFarlane answered, quote, well, it wasn't just my decision. There's a handful of other people working on it that we haven't abandoned yet. One of the people working on it that is going to be a big name when we finally get to announce it, I think he said he went through close to 100 scripts by as many people as he could, unquote. Now, I know one of the points that Flash had made, which is true, you know, considering how Spawn is having a resurgence in popularity here, why would they want to do this? Why would they want to embrace something that's going to lose them a lot of that money? It's going to turn off about half the audience already. You know, Spawn's. You know, we saw last week when we were looking at those articles that Spawn, he's really building that universe. You know, now Flash had argued that maybe McFarlane was just saying this just to appease the people in Hollywood, keep them off his back, but at least the way Trent's pointing out here, John Trent here, he's making it sound like, you know, Farland may be full on into this. The creator that revealed one of the key things he was looking for was a non-white writer. Of course. He said, quote, we were looking ideally for someone that could bring a voice to the character on two levels. I'm just a white Canadian kid. I haven't lived the life of a man in America or of someone with dark skin. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Quote, we thought it was important to get the perspective of somebody who has someone with that perspective coming in and adding a slightly different bent on what you and I as comic book readers already know as to what Spawn is about, unquote, he added. McFarlane then noted that he doesn't want to film the film tell Spawn's comic book origin. Quote, I didn't want to do the comic book origin story from issues 1 through 3. In the movie, we were looking for people without even telling them that to give something a little bit different. He continued, quote, unfortunately, 80 to 90% of them, according to the other person involved who was interviewing, most of them were falling into the trap of retelling the comic book story in the movie, unquote. Well, why not? I mean, it's a success. Why not? Heck, you even had a successful TV run in the 90s there. The Spawn creator then went on to detail that he wants his new film to be, quote, relevant today, unquote, specifically in terms of its social content. Oh boy. McFarlane explained, quote, we saw that movie. That movie came out 20 plus years ago from New Line. So what haven't we seen that would be interesting and relevant today, both in terms of filmmaking and social content? Okay, when somebody is saying that they're trying to make it relevant for social content, you know there's something wrong. You know there's something wrong there. Okay, let me tell you something. Demons, zombies, and monsters don't care if you're white or black or yellow or orange or whatever. If you taste good, you taste good. Okay? Spawn's kind of a horror comic, and you're trying to put race into it when race has absolutely no business in it. Dave, I guess let's see what Dave has to say here. Oh, right, possibly woke Spawn. Yeah. Hiring based on race is racist, but we'll see what the show looks like first. Blah. Yeah, I think I think the whole thing's just kind of stupid. If it wanted to be relevant, Spawn would go after politicians. True. And certain doctors. Yeah. I would have to agree with you there. Well, also, also, as I understand it, Spawn again is more of a horror comic, anyways. And yeah, as I said, monsters, zombies, and demons don't care what color your skin is. Hey, NASCAR Jeremy, aka Batgoat, glad you're here. Always, I do appreciate any and all likes and shares. Um, that does help with the album. Spawn villainy has always been about the corruption of the human soul. That doesn't need to doesn't need to be race driven. Yeah, what a lot of the SJWs don't understand is that black people, yellow people, red people, brown people, they can be just as evil and just as greedy and just as selfish and just as corrupt as white people. Evil is an equal opportunity employer. Okay? It doesn't discriminate based on skin color. uh, anyways, let's continue on here. What's funny about McFarlane's comments here is that he shoots down the idea of doing Spawn's origin for this upcoming film because it's already been done. But in the next sentence, he's calling for a movie that will be, quote, relevant today, both in terms of filmmaking and social content. Not sure if Todd realizes this, but that's been done to the umpteenth time as well. We've already seen it. And movie going audiences are not interested in seeing more, just look at Terminator, Dark Fate, and Charlie's Angels, or any of the other films and TV shows that embrace woke culture. Yeah, because when you turn on the boob tube, you don't want to be lectured to. When you open your favorite comic book or your favorite strip in a newspaper, you don't want to be lectured to. When you go to a movie theater, you don't want to be lectured to. When you turn on the radio, you don't want to be lectured to. I don't know how many different ways I need to say that. Any which way you look at it, you don't want to be lectured. Nobody wants to be lectured to. Movie-going audiences do not want to see films that have social content that is, quote unquote, relevant today. We want messages that are timeless. If you choose relevant today over timeless, no one remembers your movie the second they are out of the theaters. In contrast, timeless messages are still with us. People are still talking about Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars films. People are still talking about Die Hard, The Sound of Music, Gone with the Wind, and The Wizard of Oz. McFarlane's comments come as Image Comics announced the recently released Gunslinger Spawn #1, quote, became the biggest launch of a new superhero monthly title in the comic history in the past 25 years, with the first printing of 393,000 copies, unquote. Yes, again, the Spawn titles are experiencing a resurgence in popularity. And now it's like, a lot of times like, okay, a lot of times people talk about shooting themselves in the foot. I think in Todd McFarlane's case, he's not shooting himself in the foot. He's shooting himself in the nether region, if you get what I mean. I think Todd McFarlane here is trying to do a gender transition operation, if you know what I mean. See what you guys have been saying here. I'm a blue people Smurf style. I think my comments go towards blue people too. There were times when the Smurfs were actually, now granted, it was from biting each other after one of them got bit by something, but imagine Spawn going after that BLM lady who bought 3 mansions. Papa Smurf. I'm more a mix between Painter, Hefty, and Greedy. Those are the Smurfs that help the community the most. I'm not kidding. Okay. Quote, you deceived those people. I'm here to give you your just desserts. Unquote. Spawn. Quote unquote, pull my finger, bat goat. P.S. Hey Dave, good to see you. How about that? How was your day, bat goat? Great. I golfed and went to the bar. Tournament rules. That's not your finger. Oh boy. Oh boy, gentlemen. Anyways, okay, so let's get back to this article. We're past the hour mark, but we're pretty much I think we're on the 5th or 6th story, so it'll be. Let's see. Image specifically noted that the first issue sales of Gunslinger Spawn beat Marvel Spider-Gwen that launched in 2015. According to Comic-Con, Spider-Gwen shipped 254,074 copies when its first issue debuted in February 2015. There's Gunslinger Spawn right there. Interesting look, to say the least. McFarlane isn't embracing topics that would be relevant today in terms of social content. He's literally breaking records with a character from the Old West. Here's the official description for the first issue. Quote, introducing the launch of the second new monthly title spinning out of the Spawn universe, with one of the most popular characters in the entire Spawn mythology. This book contains 3 separate gunslinger stories, each taking a look at his journey through time, from the wild, wild west to the 21st century. Will his 200-year-old past come back to haunt him as he navigates the strange world of 2021? Get ready for the past and present to collide in this new ongoing title. What do you make of McFarlane's comments about the upcoming Spawn film? Yeah, I think if he is truly trying to be woke, he's an idiot. He should just go with his source material. He shouldn't try to change it to make it quote unquote relevant today. Oof, it stinks though. All right then. So we have one last story to get to. Actually in the television segment here. 6 stories tonight. You guys can always go back and watch. There was a couple stories I read earlier is Marvel may end up losing a lot of its main characters. If you guys want to learn more about that, you can watch the earlier part of the video here. I covered a couple articles. The Ditko estate is one of a few few heirs of creators, families of creators that's suing Marvel to terminate copyrights on a number of their popular characters, and Marvel is countersuing, claiming that the characters came as work for hire. So, if you want to get more detail on that, go back and watch the video. All right, so here we go. This will be the for Holy Night again. Dave says, "Hold the onions." Holy moly! The air is on. It's gonna be hot here in Minnesota this week. Love it. Yeah, we just started fall too, Becco. That's kind of a surprise. It's gonna be hot in Minnesota. Netflix releases first trailer for Mark Millar's anime-inspired Super Crook series. Netflix released the first trailer for the upcoming anime-inspired adaptation of Mark Millar and Daniel Yu's Super Crook series. Along with a trailer, they also released a brand new poster for the series too. Check that out below. So here's the poster down here. Super Crooks. In his newsletter, Millar expressed his excitement about the 13-part Studio Bones production. The creator stated, quote, "You're going to love it. It's bona fide bonkers and some of the maddest stuff I've ever come up with." Unquote. Oh, look at that kick. Lifting that guy off the ground with that side kick right there. Millar went on to detail what the original plan for Super Crooks and how it turned into an anime-inspired Netflix show. He explained the original plan was to do a European movie of this with my buddy Nacho Londo. Some years back, but we never got the funding we wanted. After Miller World was sold to Netflix, was snapped up by our animation department. But the story itself was only 4 issues and just enough material for maybe 3 episodes of the show. Quote, "So the guys asked me to create another 10 episodes of story for this beast, and honest to God, it was a pure joy. Not only did it mean creating another batch of characters like Lenil again, who's a sweetheart and a genius, but I got to flesh out Johnny Bolt, give him an origin and a wider cast, and go deep with a load of stuff I never had room for in the comic. You guys are going to wet yourselves," unquote. Okay, that's kind of a nice way of putting it. So he's got a thing about people wetting themselves. Oh boy. As Millar notes, Super Crooks was originally a 4-issue comic book series titled Super Crooks: The Heist. The official description on Amazon reads, quote, "When the market is flooded with competition and the authorities are on your tail, what's an all-American supervillain to do? Go to Spain? Of course. Johnny Bolt convinces his villainous pals to pull off one last heist, but will culture shock get to them before the policia do? And when Johnny's target is revealed as the greatest supervillain of all time, things go horribly wrong." Unquote. Oh, look at the ladies there. The ladies in that thing. The animated series will arrive on Netflix on November 25th. So it actually arrived this past Saturday. It will be followed by a live action adaptation of Super Crooks that is also in development at Netflix. Let me see. Oh, this art. Okay. This article was published today, but the animated series had already debuted. All right, so that's all the main stories we have for tonight, guys. See, back out. Told you guys I walked home from the bar last week. 1 mile ain't nothing when drunkies. Maybe it's more than a mile. I'm gonna check on maps right now. Be right back. Seems longer because you take 1 step backward for every 2 steps forward. Yeah. Well, I've been known to walk a few miles a day just in how I get around. So. All right, guys. Let's see. We're at what, an hour 28. So we've made some good time tonight, and I thank everybody for likes and shares. So let's see. Well, unless there's anything you guys want to bring up or ask about or anything like that, might be a good time to start wrapping things up. Is there anything you guys want to talk more about, or because we can go a little longer. We're coming up on an hour and a half here, so we can be at least a few more minutes if you guys want. If not, if you don't have anything you want to talk about or anything like that, we can probably just go right into this day in each history. So it's up to you. You guys want to go a little longer, or shall we start wrapping up? Yay, my Indy car says for Ashley. Indy car toys for Ashley have just been shipped. My Windows update messed up my Linux boot sector. Grr. Gonna be a race car driver, I tells ya. That's all I got. Bring on the niche. My grandson rules. I tell you guys that already. Yeah, I know. Yep, that goat. I know he rules. You've told us several times. You're a proud grandpa. I heard he was going to be the next Mario Andretti. Well, that goat. What type of race car driver is your grandson going to be? You want him to be? Do you want to be a stock car racer or an Indy car racer? True that, Woody. That goat. You want your grandson to be a stock car racer or an Indy car racer? Just got the notification Nick's going to be on in a half hour. Indy, NASCAR, and NHRA, lots of options. What, you don't care just as long as he's a racer, right? Whether it's on the dirt tracks or the brickyard or the major speedways. He's got to feel the need for speed, right? Any car toys you got should help steer him in that direction. He likes the battery-powered Land Rover car I bought him for his first birthday. He tried to steer it while his dad was controlling the car. Yep, he's gonna be a race car driver. History. Okay, all right. All right, so again, before I do get into history, I just let's all just be in, have our thoughts with Leto and his family right now as his wife's getting through the accident we heard about earlier. Um, Also, thank you all for being here. Thank you guys for the likes and the shares and help. So, without any further ado, let's today being Monday, August the 27th, 2021. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. Alrighty then. So, with that. Yeah, she's okay. He was on early. You told us about it earlier before you got here, Matt Goat. As far as we know, she's okay. She just got a few bruises, but her car basically kind of got messed up pretty bad, and she's actually more upset about that than the fact that she was in the accident. So. All right. So without any further ado, today being Monday, September 27th. Oh no, bummer. Glad she's okay. Don't scare me like that. Yeah, I mean, we kind of all knew about it. We knew what was going on, but yeah, she got banged up in a little car hit by a big truck. Being losing transportation sucks. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get on with the history here then. So, first off, we head back 60 years ago today. On this date, 60 years ago today, the first episodes of Hanna-Barbara's Top Cat, as well as Jay Ward's Dudley Do Right, are broadcast on this date in 1961. So, Top Cat would premiere on this date in 1961, and Dudley Do Right would premiere on this date in 1961 as well. I believe at the time, um, Dudley Do Right was a part of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So that's where he made his debut on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So on this date, back in 1960 years ago today, Hanna-Barbera's Top Cat and Jay Ward's Productions' Dudley Do Right premiered on this date in 1961. Top Cat, the unbelievable Top Cat, the undisputable leader of the gang. He's a pimp, he's a championship, he's the most tip-top Top Cat. Dudley Do Right was a BA hero of mine as a kid. Yeah, yeah. He got his own show, as I recall, in '69, I believe. For 1 year. He kind of branched off from the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So, anyways, moving on to the next piece of the. Excuse me a moment, guys. I've got to go tend to Chloe. She's barking again. I'll be right back. Oh, wait. That's not actually what I was wanting to do as of yet. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Anyway. He's the boss, he's a pimp, he's a championship, he's the most tip top. Top cat. Thank you, Woody, for putting the words there. I kind of had it, but I love that intro. Yeah, that's a cool intro. It's kind of a catchy one. Okay. You're too young, Dave. It's not a bad thing. Well, Dave could have still seen. Well, he might have still seen it in syndication because I think I've seen an episode or two of Dudley Do Right before too. And wow, this is a big day in cartoons. 60th anniversary ones. Yeah. Kind of like cartoons. Did I tell you guys? Yep. Yeah. Yep. I know that. Back up. So, anyways, moving on to our next piece of niche history here. On this date, 5 years ago today, in 2016, the production IMS anime Active Raid would complete its run on this date would complete its initial Japanese run on this date in 2016. So 5 years ago today, the production IMS anime Active Raid would finish its run on this day in 2016, 5 years ago today. Quick, what's the name of? I don't remember. It's kind of funny. I don't necessarily remember name of that off the top of my head, but I can look that up real quick. Oh, his horse was named Horse. uh, his horse is actually named Horse. Kind of funny. Up and adamant. Quick, what's the name of the leader? Right? And we. Then I'm helpless. Horse. Yep. Of course. Like an ape. Named Ape. George of the Jungle. Yeah, they were pretty simple back in those days. But anyways, let's get to the last bit of niche history here for the night. We have one more piece of niche history. And on this date, 4 years ago today, in 2017, the fifth and final issue of Packless from Image Comics went on sale on this date 4 years ago today. It was 60 pages, $5.99 cover price. So, wow, $6 for a comic book nowadays. A long way from the 10 cents back in the 30s, right? So, on its date 4 years ago today, the fifth and final issue of Packless went on sale on this date. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Again, I thank you guys for the likes and shares as always. So don't forget this Friday will be October 1st. We'll be finishing up our coverage of May 1938, focusing on books that went on sale from Centaur and David McKay. Batgoat will hopefully be joining me as always. And as always, guys, I hope you guys had a good time tonight. See, love those cartoons when I was a kid. Thanks, Mike. No problem, Dave. You're always welcome, man. Um, you, sir, are a master of cartoonology. Yeah. Uh, I think you and Woody can give me some competition there, my friend. Peace all the time to get 420 on this beer buzz so I can sleep. All right, guys. Well, I thank you guys again, and I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow night. So until then, bye.